minutes, I'm going to be a little bit quiet because I'm people are working in the back room. But yeah, I've got a bunch of sports stars and commissions and everybody's on his files right now.
Anything you share with that?
Yeah, the girl who accused Trump of raping her when she was 13, Jeffrey Epstein, did you know that? There was a lawsuit brought, it was dropped. I didn't know this. Did any of you guys know this?
No one knows this
No,
stuff.
honestly, nobody just put it in the comments.
There was a case. There was a case during I think it was during election time, the last election run, where it was an accusation, and it never went anywhere. I don't think it ever went anywhere. So I heard the whole story about that. It all sounded very dramatic, but it never actually came from the source. It never worked out where it came from. There's a lot.
So we do.
There was a lawsuit. There was an actual lawsuit filed against Trump saying that with Epstein and that he raped, and he dropped it later and she was arrested. I'm just finding out about this now.
I'm going to shift comments here a little bit.
Come on, Chris, that's been out for a couple of years.
I've
So I
never
mean,
heard of it.
I'm gonna go to Ryan. Nick, what you've shared in the back channels regarding Dershowitz. You can go over it. Ryan is posting it as we speak, but you can go over it in the meantime.
Yeah, so very deep inside this document, a couple of hundred pages, and it mentions that one of the powerful individuals that Epstein actually forged, Jane Doe number 3, which was an underage girl had sex with, is prominent Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz. And actually, he was accused of being in the document before, and he said, well, that doesn't mean anything. But it seems like this happened multiple times, on multiple occasions, while she was a minor, not only in Florida, but on private planes in New York, New Mexico, which is, because we just heard that Bill Richardson, the former governor of New Mexico, was actually involved in the situation as well. This was Virgin Islands. So this girl was, this is the definition of trafficking right here, of sex trafficking. But Alan Dershowitz, he mentioned multiple times here, and Dershowitz later went on to help negotiate a deal to, try to avert formal prosecution against Epstein. And that's big here because Dershowitz is very well known. He was a contributor on multiple networks, very high-profile attorney and high-profile law professor as well. That's one of the bigger names that you see in this document.
Well, it's also problems for Dershowitz, man.
Well, I think he's come out recently.
No, the statement that you made yesterday, I believe, was that nothing in the document means that it actually happened. That's what he said.
And he kept his underwear on when he got to the side, so it's okay.
Dude, it's so gross. It's so disgusting to think about this. And what they did to these girls, and hang out with this guy. I mean, how could you not know that this guy is disgusting? I mean, having this guy in your home and hanging out with him, I mean, didn't they get a feeling about him or anything like that? I just think the whole thing just sticking.
So we have Doug Band, who's will be posted that. I think I'm just jumping in to mention it. There's Q&A about Doug Band, who's an aide to Bill Clinton. Do you know who Doug Band is? I do. How do you know him? He used to work or still works for Bill Clinton. Did you ever have a relationship with him? We are talking about adult consensual relationships. It's off the record. I'm not asking what he did with him. I'm asking if you ever had. Where's the rest of it? Damn it. We need the rest of it. The rest of it. I hope the team does this. I'm part of it. That's right. Bill Clinton. But Dershowitz mentioned they're killing it. I think the guys are leading all the news. Everyone's just using them as a source. So well done for the team and Ryan for posting everything out so quickly. And Dershowitz has mentioned 8 times. How many times has Bill Clinton mentioned?
About over 100 times. He's all over these 900-page documents. Insane.
Yeah, I didn't.
There it is. Backside. So I've got the rest of the document here, and Ryan, I'm just going to tag you in them just so you can see in the group. There's the other one here, Michelle. Read it out. Right, so where are we up to? I'm not asking what you did with him. I'm asking if you ever had a confidential relationship with him. If if you understand the term relationship, certainly you can answer that. Define relationship. Somebody that you would have spent time together, either seeing them in a romantic relationship, or you need to be, what do you mean by romantic? I was friends with Doug, but you're suggesting something more, so I want to be clear what you are actually asking. So I'm waiting for the rest of it here. This is with an aid of Clinton. And alright, so I'm gonna get the rest of it now. Mar-a-Lago's mentioned, we'll get to that in a bit. But alright, there's the rest of it. It's essentially coming out live. You defined it, you said you were friends with him. That's what you were, that's all I need to know. While you were on the trip with President Clinton, do you recall where you stayed at these locations? In other words, did you leave the jet and stay overnight at a hotel? Do you have a recollection of this trip? So now we're back to Clinton. I recollect the trip, but if you're asking me where we stayed, you can see it's a very fast-paced trip. It was very tiring. And alright, the rest of it here. Okay, there it is. And I don't know why the name is. I'm sorry, I can't write it. I'm reading it as we get it. Ryan, Nick, do you have anything else while I continue?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of actually famous people that are mentioned in this document. We're going through and we're gonna figure out exactly what their role was and how well connected they were to this. I know we just found Michael Jackson, David Copperfield, the famous magician, and so there are a lot of names in here. We're going through and we're compiling all the names that we're given to you in one list, and then we'll go through their role in each one of them. So the working on the background.
One of the connections is actually was tapped and the ICJ trial. It's connected to like a modern day event that's going on.
Also, just Michael Jackson mentioned as well. I think you just said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll figure out why here in just a second, but I want to remind everybody in the bottom right-hand corner, if you guys are finding stuff, we do have the team going through all those comments. Everybody seems to be, going at full steam here, so we really appreciate any help that you guys can provide. Down there in the bottom right-hand corner, that purple fill button, definitely let us know.
So to kind of help out with the Michael Jackson thing, he's mentioned in a very minor role. It's like, have you met Michael Jackson? Like, oh yeah, at his house in Palm Beach. It's like, have you ever met any famous people? You said Michael Jackson. Yes, that's like to the extent that Michael Jackson mentioned. So
that is the difficult part, guys. We don't, we're not trying to accuse anybody without reading the context. That's why we're working through it. That's why I didn't want to mention too much about it, but he is mentioned in there. But Adrian.
Yeah, I actually wanted to propose that we do a bit of a room reset as Mara is busy basically scratching together all the files. Could we do a little bit of a summary, a recap, TLDR as to what has been discovered, what is new about the newest release of files? Also, for anyone who's recently joined it, I do recommend going to the Purple Pill, liking and reposting the space because this seems to be a very critical thing, and we are seeing the news break here live on X, as it usually does. And I think everything here will be written about in various articles across the board in the mainstream media. And this is the most accurate and newest source, fresh source of information that you can find. So let's get a bit of a TLDR. I'd like to repost the space, also Paul Amari and all the co-hosts. So what's happening?
Thanks, Adrian. I think maybe go ahead, Nick and Ryan.
yeah, just to give you guys a heads up, all the big stuff that we discussed about, we are posting summaries and briefs with screenshots directly on Mario's page. So I highly suggest you guys check that out too if you're jumping in like halfway or midpoint.
Yeah, it's all posted up at the top of the space right there.
Okay,
so you can take a look at it.
Thanks a lot, Adrian. Appreciate the shout out. So I've got the rest of that part of the aid. So she's asking, do you have a relationship with him? And we'll do the recap for you, Adrian, in a bit. Do you have a relationship with him? So if you understand the term relationship, so you can answer that, define. So you're going back and forth on what a relationship is. You answer with a built-in aid. You define it. You said you were friends with him. If that's the case, were you on a trip with President Clinton? If you recall where you stayed. Okay, damn it. Guess not the rest of it. Alright, so go ahead, Joe, go ahead. And Julie's got a former prosecutor here on stage as well, just FYI.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you that I was on the stage before when this first came out, and I was saying that the first time I ever mentioned it in public to anyone was that I was at a party in the Hamptons, in a place called the Wilson Castle, which Sir Ivan, look it up, Wilson Castle, Sir Ivan parties. There was a documentary made called Orgies, Murder, and Sir Ivan, which was constantly taken down from the internet, and that's where I saw Trump, Epstein, and Sammy Sosa, which was a famous pitcher at the time, and there was an auction going
So
on
there was
inside.
I
There was an auction going on inside. They wound up saving a girl, although she was 18. She did say there was underage people. We searched some photos. There's plenty of underage girls at these parties, and it doesn't have to happen on the island. Just to mention, and there was many famous people at this party.
I think it's important. I just want to clear one thing as a component. I'm not advocating for anything. I think everybody who's involved should be more positive. To the extent of the law, and I think people should attack anybody on this list. That way, if people are innocent, they're going to want public disclosure to clear their name. If you're here and you just met them in a picture at certain parties and stuff, everybody named. If they're innocent, you should be pushing for full disclosure, because that's the only way you're going to be able to exonerate yourself at this point, based on all the shenanigans that's been going on.
Well, they're killing off witnesses. The other witness apparently died in October of an accidental overdose.
Tira, good to have you as well.
Yeah, hey, just
we'll
one.
go to Julie's afterwards.
Well, sorry, I'm driving, so I can't read this. Just one clarification. Dershowitz has not been hired by Israel. They were mulling it over. My suspicion is now they will mull no more, and they will decide not to hire him after these pages have dropped. In terms of the rape allegation against Donald Trump, yes, that was pretty well known. The woman was 13. She filed anonymously, and then her lawyer voluntarily dismissed it. Literally, 6 months later, said she was threatened. Don't know any more facts than that, to be honest. I believe it was a civil suit at
She
that
went
point.
back a second time, Tira. She tried again a second time.
No, the first time, no. The first time was in California. It was dismissed because of procedural stuff. Then she filed again. I think the second one was New York, and then the lawyer dismissed it. But I believe it was a civil suit because I think the statute might have run. I don't know. All I know is I think it was a civil suit at that point, and we don't really know anything about her, to be honest, and whether there was any credibility.
The only info that she was able to provide that she knew inside Epstein's house. That's the only credible evidence she knew.
I want to go to Julius. And sorry, everyone's waiting anxiously for the rest of the story I was reading earlier. The laptop of team members covering it just crashed. How many documents there is, so we start again sending me the rest of it now. So I'll continue the back and forth about the Bill Clinton's aid, and Ryan will be summarizing it in a tweet once we have all the information. Julius, your thoughts on what we've heard so far?
Yeah, I think Tira kind of summed things up well. We don't really know anything about anything right now. The reality is that a lot of these names that are coming out are just more names that are for intrigue, for and for public interest. But if there was enough evidence to actually prove that any of these people that are part of this massive release of names that did something wrong criminally, actually engaged in sexual abuse, then these people would have been prosecuted a long time ago, and that's not the case. So I think we have to be careful in terms of making innuendos, etc., just because of how many times someone may be mentioned within the documents, and if they're mentioned at all. Secondly, what strikes me is that a lot of the names that have been coming up as being part of this release of documents or release of names are names that I'm not really sure are that relevant. I mean, David Copperfield, Prince Andrew, I understand that a lot of this is good for history, but to me, the most relevant names that we should be combing through are names of people that are relevant in today's world, in today's political environment, namely Donald Trump, and other people that might be running for public office. But that's who I think that we should be concentrating on right now.
And what about Bill Gates?
Sure, I mean, that's fair game, but Bill Gates isn't running for president.
No, he's just guiding our entire education system, our healthcare response, and everything else. And, one of the most powerful in the world, arguably more powerful than many world governments. But whatever you say.
Well, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I think that Donald Trump has more influence upon what's happening in the United States and the world right now than Bill Gates. Although I'll give granted, Bill Gates does have a tremendous amount of influence.
I think I've got the rest of it. Nick just dropped out. I'm going to bring Nick back up. I do want to go to Protocol regarding the amount of information we're seeing. And Julius, the point that you've made when going through all these names, Trump has barely mentioned so far. Bill Clinton mentions it more.
Mary, your mic something, yeah.
Cool, I'm back now. So the question I have, Julie, I'm sure the mic should be better now. I'll get a headset for it again. But if when you're going through these documents, can you explain what these documents are? And I think they're going to be dropped over a period of time to the first batch. How does this work? Yeah, a lot of people are going through this for the first time. Yeah, these were just documents that were part of the civil suit, is my understanding, against Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. And these documents were sealed originally to protect the names of people that are mentioned in them, so that the reputations aren't held against, so the litigation is protected. Since the litigation has been wrapped up now, the judge ordered that these names to be released now. So the judge wouldn't do that if the judge felt that the release of these names could have any impact upon any type of litigation, future lawsuits, etc. So that's where we're at right now. This is really more just for public curiosity, public interest at this point in time.
I think I just want to say one thing. When you talk about prosecution, Florida gave co-conspirators named and unnamed. So, I mean, it's clear that Epstein had been operating for decades before he was finally arrested and given a hard deal. So I disagree. We've seen a lot of criminals in multiple positions of power in business and in world governance that are never prosecuted. So, I mean, I'm glad you have this confidence in our justice system.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be close to possible crimes, but it's not going to be any hard evidence. And in my opinion, I don't think we're going to see it even remotely close to a solid clue that's going to lead to any indictment or anything like that. Say out of that.
If there was enough evidence to actually prosecute someone or charge someone with a crime, with child sex trafficking, child sexual assault, that would have been leaked out a long time ago, or those cases would have been prosecuted.
Well, I guess you're familiar with the Florida case where the U.S. Attorney said
Anthony Acosta, who actually became a Trump appointee, right? That guy? Yeah.
Yeah, correct. That was part of the Bush administration. And there was a lot of appointments that I'm not sure what I like to went through, right? But even if you look at that case, it was clear the U.S. Attorney's involved that this came from above when they were at wide. So it's clear that government acts are more powerful, whether it's intelligence committee or with other algorithms play a role in crafting these, and they should all be named. I think you guys are confused. Nobody's going to defend Trump. I want this all to be released. I remember for years people saying, no, Clinton's not involved, no, Chris Andrews not involved. I mean, ABC had a report and they killed it in coverage of the royal wedding. So I think it's nice to see people come along now and say, we need disclosure. Let's get all disclosure. Let's see what they seized in the New York City townhouse. Let's see those CDs and those hard drives. I think people are confused. If anybody's guilty, I want them punished. I'm glad people actually see now that people are going to
We've got some more information. Before I'm going to bring you up, Nick, I'll send you the course invite. If you can accept it, so I can bring up before we get one more one perfect. Before we have the BBC who has a team working on this. I'm going to give you the mic in the big four to tell us what you guys have found. I know you jumped out earlier. And I've got something to read, but Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, so the part where your story cuts off the page 7, the next page goes from page 138 to page 307. So there's a huge gap in that document that they do not provide us.
Shit. But when it comes to the Bill Clinton aid, so everyone just wondering why the story cut off earlier when we talked about the Bill Clinton aid. That's because this has all been redacted. But why are they still redacting? I thought we just get the full release of the documents. This is where Tyria Julie's maybe playing.
national security.
Is that common for?
It may not be redacted. It might have been cut off. Some of them were even from cases we're having trouble being downloaded at first. So we might just have to go back and figure out the files there. I'll check it in.
Yeah, I want to know what
The
happened.
doc that Dan put together for us, he combined all of them into one, the 943. Yeah, I'll send it to Chris this one.
Yeah. All right. Let me go through another one here. I've got team where we said that. Just reading it earlier. There it is. So I'm going to tag you guys. I'll put a dot to it, Brian and Nick, so you can see what I'm talking about. All right. So you testified that you had knowledge that of what Jeffrey was doing behind closed doors with other girls. Is that your testimony? Answer, so I guess one of the witnesses, based on what we told you. Okay, so Jeffrey told you things that he had done with other girls. Yes. You did not observe any of those things. No. You did not talk to any of those girls about what they had done with Jeffrey behind closed doors. Objection. And then she answers, correct. Correct? And she says, no, correct. The only source of knowledge you have is based on what Jeffrey told you he had done with other girls. Correct. Objection again. You said that these were possibly nude photos among the other photos that you saw on various walls of the Palm Beach house. Correct? Correct. None of them stood out to you? Correct. None of them appeared pornographic? No. You didn't see any fully frontally nude photographs, correct? No, not that I recall. And you don't recall seeing any girls that appeared to be underage, correct? No. You said Ghislaine asked you to take photos of yourself for Jeffrey, correct? Correct. Did she ask you to take a nude photograph of yourself or just a photograph of yourself? A nude photograph of myself. What exactly did she say to you? I don't remember exactly, but I knew that I never felt comfortable. I would have never felt fine taking photos of myself, my face, but I knew I was never comfortable with it because I had to take photos of my body and also didn't know how to take a photo from standing behind. You had to have someone else involved. By the way, Ryan, you can maybe post a summary of this for anyone that wants to really. I'll continue going through it. That's my question. How would you take a nude photograph of yourself? Exactly, someone else would have to do it. Do you recall any of the particulars of what she said to you that led you to believe she wanted you to do that? No, just asking for the photos. Do you know when in your time there? It was near the beginning because that's when I was interested in the photography. Was it in the context of your discussion of your photography class? No. Was it in the context of anything? About the camera that she had brought for me. What did she say in relation to the camera that she brought you and taking photographs? Because she's going back and forth to try to prove whether those photographs are pornographic. It's not much there. Just that Jeffrey would like to have some photos of me. Again, she said it was a nude photo. And she asked me to take photos of myself. What did she say? I don't remember saying no, but I never ended up following through. I think I tried once. Question, this was a pre-selfie era, correct? Exactly. I want to go back to this and testify to 3 things just now with Sigrid that you said were implied. Okay, the first was that you take pressure off Maxwell to have more girls around, right? What exactly did Maxwell say to you that led you to believe that was the implication? So about getting more girls around him. She says she doesn't have time or desire to please him as much as he needs. And that's why there were other girls around. That's what Maxwell said. She can't please Jeffrey and by herself. And did she refer specifically to any other girls? No. Did she talk about underage girls? No. Was she talking about massage therapists? Not specifically. Okay, were there other girls in the house that were not massage therapists, correct? Yes. Nadia's another person that was around, correct? Yes. There were other people you traveled with, Objection, blah blah, correct, other girls, yes, adults, yes. Just back and forth with one of the witnesses. I want to go to Ryan, Nick, on anything else you guys have. I know more things are coming in the group that we're barely keeping up with. There's a witness who saw that they saw a photo of Maxwell with the Pope. Okay, did you read that one, Ryan?
No, I'll look for that.
Yeah, I'm just going to tag you in it there. Let me read out what we have. Just that was well, excellent. Other than the bathroom or the massage room at the Palm, again, it doesn't mean the Pope was implicated in any of this. Any names mentioned, they were just there. You got to trying to come to conclusions. You can come to your own conclusion. And it's over almost 1,000 pages, 946 pages in those documents. And there's more batches to be released. So it's just too early to come to conclusions now, except that it doesn't look good for Prince Andrew. Looks probably the worst for Prince Andrew. Anyway, let's see what I have here for the Pope. Other than in the bathroom or the massage room at the Palm Beach home, do you recall any other place in the Palm Beach home where you saw any of these topless photos of women? Answer. I remember there being photos everywhere. There were ones that stick out in my memory, other ones. There was a photo of Ghislaine or Maxwell with the Pope. It would not surprise me if they were naked photographed, again, unrelated to the Pope. If you talk about a photo of her and the Pope, it just didn't retain any of them in my memory. So they're going back to the naked photo. So there's a photo of Maxwell and the Pope. Again, Maxwell met a lot of people and had a lot of influence. It doesn't mean much, but just pointing out that there's a photo of Maxwell and the Pope in the building where we discussed things were happening. So we'll continue to go through all these documents. I do want to go to Kfua. You have a team as well, just like us, going through everything at the BBC. Appreciate you coming on. What can you tell us?
Thank you, man. Sorry, I got to take back. But yeah, I've got a good team on it right now, and we're getting more stars who are actually on this list right now, which is crazy how many are actually on this list right now.
Oh, a lot of sports stars. Any names you can mention?
Yeah, we got African footballer Mohamed Conte. We've got a Welsh footballer called Brandon Glasgow. What else have we got? Maybe we got some Twitter personalities as well. We've got got a guy called Stokey, Stokey that's on there. And what else as well? And also a guy called Jordan Gunter too.
And we don't know in what context those names are.
Oh, we know that the name's like right?
But we don't know whether they've been implicated in some way and what they've done there. The names are named, but we don't know exactly what context. Which ones do you think are the most incriminating?
We have former Vice President Al Gore also allegedly on the island. That appears to not have done so. There's actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Friday, what was it? He was also the Democrat nominee in 2020, or sorry, 2000 for President of the United States. So we're looking into that one as well. But there are a lot of names that we haven't mentioned yet. We're still going through. Stephen Hawking.
Nick, there's a part in the doc that says, someone's asked, did you ever see Al Gore on the island? And the person replies, no.
Yeah.
Did you see his wife on the island, Tipper Gore on the island? The person replies, no.
Let's do the bottom of the document.
I do want to go to Protocol, get your thoughts to break as well. Johnny, your thoughts on what we have so far?
Can I ask Johnny a question?
Yeah. Go Protocol and then Joe, I'll let you ask Johnny a question.
I think anybody whose name, who wants to clear their name, and if they're famous and influential and powerful, should push for full transparency. The world deserves to know. And there should be full transparency. People who are just implicated because this guy did travel in a lot of wealthy and influential circles, and they might have posted pictures like Elon Musk. I don't think he was involved, but they should all push for full transparency. The world deserves to know.
John, why have you on here? You've been researching this for a long time. There's a lot of, I know there was a book released called Dead Men Tell No Tales, tying EPSTEIN to Mossad, selling U.S. secrets to Mossad, UK secrets to Mossad. Any facts to that? Anything you've seen over the past years? Because that is a current conflict, and I don't think it's just Trump that we should be looking at, to be honest.
Well, my former partner, Whitney Webb, was she was very hot on the Mossad angle too, and I know a lot of people say, you know, Mossad, they have to, because it all has to be one shot. And yes, Robert Maxwell, for instance, I mean, he had obvious links with the Mossad, but he also had obvious links with nearly every single intelligence agency in the world. He was the man who told Brian Mulroney in Canada when Margaret Thatcher was going to stand down. You know, he's the guy who knew everything before it happened and had put himself around. He was also big on the New York scene, wanted to enter the American infrastructure and whatnot.
Talk about big names and what was just mentioned there as well about if big names really want to close the relationship. Well, there's a lot of links to Italy with the flight manifest, the documents in general, and I've done a lot of research on one woman in particular, called Youngman, who must be one of the most intriguing women who was associated with Epstein. On the early flight manifest, she was one of the only ones to travel alone without Jeffrey Epstein's entourage, where they went to a hunting lodge in North Warwickshire that was owned by Leslie Webster, and met two US senators. And there's a lot of really interesting, you know, she's involved in SpaceX Revolut now, and many other companies. She's a really interesting woman, and she's tried to cover up and hide her association with Epstein, even though she was later in the business, by 9/11 with Barat, and Epstein himself. And there's people like that. She's married to Ferdinando Pacheco.